Hello and happy Snow Day, post-Martin Luther King Day. Welcome to Dateline New Haven on WNHH-FM, New Haven's home for community radio. I'm Paul Bass, inviting you to look behind the headlines on the stories that make our community tick. And today there's a headline I'm really happy about. Afro-Semitic Experience releases new album marking 25 years of bringing peace, good vibes, and new musical dimensions to our community. Afro-Semitic Experience is the group that that reinvents and rearranges traditional songs from both the Black church tradition and the Jewish tradition, with a jazz and bossa nova and other feel. And today, Warren Burrard, pianist and co-founder, is in the studio to tell us about the new album and what the group's been up to. Warren, welcome to the studio. So nice to see you.
Hey, likewise, Paul. It's good to see you after solid minute. I think it's been a solid minute.
It has, yeah. We've done a lot of interviews, but never in the studio.
Yeah.
David's brought the bass, yeah. Thanks for coming down in the snow.
No biggie, you know. I'm from New England, so it should actually be a bit of a pleasure for me.
I am ecstatic to walk in the snow because people are nice and the place looks so pretty. You almost have this feeling that a new song came over the loudspeaker, the whole world transformed along with it into a momentary peaceful bliss.
Yeah, I can dig it.
So Warren, congratulations on a new album. You guys said you've been around 25 years. How long is the Afro-Semitic Experience?
It's actually been 26 years.
26.
As of, I believe, the 17th of January. And it all started over at Congregation Mishkan Israel, but it had already begun incubating itself some months before that. And, of course, there's the whole story of having a casino gig stint and how it sort of evolved into an opportunity to make a joke. And that joke became a project.
Now, what was the casino kickstand?
Well, I had a 5-week stint over at Foxwoods.
Oh, really? Playing jazz?
That was way back. That was back in '97.
What was that like?
Oh, it was really
playing
neat.
Jazz at Foxwoods.
It was really neat. At that time, it was really pure, and there were no interferences or no directives about, it needs to be this kind of music or that kind of music. It was mostly, hey, a brand new loser lounge, and the booker was a friend of the community, namely of Hartford community, and he said, hey, Bird, come on down, do a stint. And at that time, there was a lot of jazz, and I brought in as many of my cohorts as I could.
You were in the jazz scene, the Jackie McLean world, right? What kind of stuff were you playing?
Oh, a lot of good straight-ahead jazz. Mm-hmm. I played a little bit of everything because
you composed, right?
Yeah, I composed as well, and there's actually quite a few albums from back in the day.
I love your piano playing. It's my favorite kind of jazz playing because I could follow where it's going with the tune, but I also hear you reaching for dimensions that aren't there. That's my favorite kind.
Yeah, that's part of the challenge I've found, and I've made it part of a mission as a musician individually to be able to touch the people who listen so that they're not totally befuddled by what's happening, mm-hmm. and that there's actually an interchange. You know.
So you're playing at Foxwoods.
Yes.
And what happened?
David showed up late.
David Chevin, bass player.
That's right.
From New Haven, Hamden.
The main cat in this particular picture here, because he's the idea guy, and he's the big heart and push of this project. But showed up late for the gig because, I guess, man, coming from New Haven, getting all the way over to...
I feel like Foxwoods is another principality or something. Like Monaco.
Or, Monaco. I'm trying to... There are a couple other little small principalities like that, you know.
With gambling.
There you go.
So
right
David shows up late. Had you started playing?
That's correct. We had already started. And we decided to play soon and very soon. We're going to see the King, as in King David. That was Alvin Carter on the drums at that moment. And sure enough, David finally shows up about 7 minutes late, something like that. And when he finally sets up his bass, he jumps right into the tune. And I was like, oh, wow. He knows this tune. This is a tune from pretty much the Christian neo gospel tradition. By now, it's about 50 years old. But at that time, it was fresh. So even in 1997, it was still considered a cutting-edge gospel standard. And that was by Andre Crouch. And I said, boy, how does this cat know Andre Crouch numbers? And apparently he had done a stint sometime in New York playing in church on Sunday mornings. It was one of his gigs, but I guess he also embraced the music.
He's also Jewish, and like Jewish people love gospel music.
Oh, okay.
Blues and gospel music, it's like hardwired in.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I think a lot of folks, I've been to a few places besides the Netherlands and Europe, and a lot of folks are always asking me, gee, why don't you consider doing a gospel music project and bringing it over here? And I'm kind of like, yeah, that was almost yesterday. It was almost yesterday. I did direct a choir at one moment. And it was Shiloh Baptist Church was a long existing church in the Hartford area. And a sort of well-known preacher ran the church. And he had about 6 or 7 different choirs. And I directed 2 of them for about 6 years. Mm-hmm. So by the time that stint was over, I was pretty much good with doing any kind of church-related gigs directly, or any kind of church-related or gospel-related stuff.
But here you were playing the song, David Jumps In.
That's right.
What happened next that led us to the creation story?
Well, David said, hey, why don't we get this going? It just sounds like something we could explore together. Like, I've got some nice tunes I like to play from my tradition, the Jewish liturgical tradition. And there's so many various aspects of that. And, we could like do a thing and kind of along the lines of this beautiful album by Charlie Hayden and Hank Jones called Steal Away.
Never knew about that.
Oh, it's a beautiful record. And in fact, it's a seminal record for me in that when I had been in a hospital for a certain amount of time, a friend of mine brought it by, and I used to listen to it late at night while trying to sleep in traction, lying in a hospital bed. And it gave me much comfort.
So David knew the song you were playing, and you knew the album he was referencing.
Yes.
So was the next step you went to Michigan, Israel to play on Martin Luther King birthday?
Well, the next step was we learned some songs together. We actually had a few practicing sessions. We talked about a few concepts and things we wanted to explore as a duo. And then Rabbi
Brockman.
Yeah, thank you. Sometimes my memory's not so great.
Mine's gone.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what it was like.
Well, you did pretty good there.
Well, I know Rabbi Brockman.
But he decided to have an MLK service, and he invited David and I to come in and do a thing.
People loved it.
Yeah.
And you switched off, right? You'd go from the black spiritual tradition to the Jewish tradition back and forth, but you kind of played it jazz, right?
Exactly.
You guys have a great feel together, the way the bass and the piano go together.
Oh, yeah.
You guys definitely sync.
Well, he's great to work with because he gives me a good push. He's a strong player, and I'm a strong pianist. So we create a beautiful tension together, and it's nice to try and balance it out with him as well.
So that was 26 Martin Luther King birthdays ago. People loved it, and so you decided to add some people and make it a band. Is that how the Afro-Semitic experience was born?
Pretty much. Like we have been working with Will Bartlett and David. Right? That's right, the sax man, as well as a good arranger and overall.
And it seemed like you always tried to keep it evenly balanced who was in the group racially, right?
Well, that's what it looks like. You
Yeah.
know, it's funny how these
Was that
things work
intentional?
out.
Was it intentional?
I don't think.
Yeah, Bob.
I'm going to tell you this.
percussion.
It was intentional in the sense that it just so happened we had a mixture of friends
Mm-hmm.
who we loved to play with. And I mean, you know, at that time I might have been a guy that would tend to say, okay, I'm going to, you know, try and bolster my race a little bit because we need it. But in actuality, I had other trios and had incorporated a mixture. And part of it was conscious. I really felt like there needed to be a contribution from all sides in this music. You get to a point where you understand that the only way these big things can move forward is if we have elements that come from everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, that becomes a part of a consciousness raising effort on my part, or a way to sort of push myself to move past my box. And I think, like, a good deal of what happened was something very organic. And it sounds like I'm hemming and hawing a little bit, but my point is that it was already there, a tendency to mix things up.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted some other elements. I mean, the inclusion of Stacy Phillips, for instance.
On the dobro, the late Stacy.
Forget about
amazing.
it.
That guy's-
You know, that guy, he was great. And I didn't know what was happening at first, but I knew that I liked the idea of having this very unique instrument become a part of
The
picture.
dobro really became part of the voice of the band. Then Baba Coleman played, along with Alvin Carter, played a really important role in the percussion.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And Baba had a very strict methodology about playing to percussion and which percussion to play when and what he needed going on when it came to him taking
Well, the band took off here. You're obviously the must-hire at Martin Luther King. But year-round, he ended up touring the world, touring the country, touring the world, made great recordings. And then Baba died and Stacey Phillips died. But you've replenished the forces of a lot of the original people. And now you have the new album out. We're talking about the Afro-Semitic experience here in Dateline, New Haven. Let's take a listen to the single. And what does it mean to cut a single nowadays? Are there singles? What does it mean that this is a single?
Yeah, it's you know, the internet is very interesting when it comes to the music field. It's changed everything. So you and I, if you wanted to, you could say, I'm going to cut a single, and that is put out a song. Simply go to the studio and make a song and just put it right out, and that's a single.
Because in the old days, it meant put it on a 45, send it to the radio stations and say, this is the song on the album that we're pushing radio to play and to people to buy individually. Is that the same concept now in that even though you've done a whole album, and artists do this all the time, they release some songs or one video at a time to try to get that to play and put the effort behind the marketing. Are you doing that with this song?
That actually plays a deep part of it, and it's part of the traditional approach, or if you could call it a traditional approach, to promoting an album. But it's also very much in line with the parlance or the behaviors of today on the market, which is to emphasize the single song.
Right, which is the same idea, just doing it differently. So how do you do it now? Do you put it on SoundCloud? Do you have a video of this? Or
you put it on as many clouds as possible.
And what clouds is this one on?
This one is on Spotify. It's on Bandcamp. It's on, I'm trying to think of the other one. I think Pandora.
Mm-hmm.
It's on, I think,
is
on
it on
everything.
YouTube?
I believe so. Yes.
And then, so people can't get the whole album without purchasing, is that correct? But you can get the single.
Yes.
So let's listen to the single.
Why not?
I dig it. Unity in the community. We used to have a group in New Haven, I think it was about 40, 50 years ago, but it lasted, called Unity in the Community. It's, people love that phrase.
Hey, one thing about that phrase, okay? It was Baba Coleman that actually brought it to us. So it's very possible he may have had some
He was a New Haven guy.
Right.
And what did tell me about him bringing it to you?
Well, he had a lot of nice slogans, and it made us think about what it meant to build community together and what it meant to have a community.
All right, listen to the song, and let's hold that thought, Warren, because I want to ask you more about that.
Cool.
Unity in the Community, the single. It's not on a 45 piece of wax, but it's the single.
That's right.
Well, if your new Afro-American Experience album, Our Feet Began to Pray.
Why don't we come together? Why don't we come together? Why do we gotta fight? Why do we gotta fight? Let's be like sis and brother who finally got it right. Let's face up each other. Black, brown, yellow, blue, white. Let's cherish all the color instead of spitting spite. Spitting spite. The highest we can be. Unity in the community. Go far as we can see. Unity in the community. Everybody sing it. Unity in the community. Unity in the community. Easy to feel the distance. Easy to chill your heart. We need to come together. We cannot fall apart. The sun may not be shining, the moon may not be bright, but when we join together, we're moving towards the light. The brightest we can see. Unity in the community. Shine so that we can see. Unity in the community. Everybody sing. Unity in the community. Unity in the community. Harmony, come on now. Harmony in the community. Gratefully.
We'll keep it playing in the background. Unity in the Community, the single of the new album by the Afro-Semitic Experience, Our Feet Began to Pray. We're here with Warren Bird, pianist, co-founder, and the vocalist on this and all the vocal tracks, correct?
That's correct.
Here on Dateline New Haven and WNHH. So, Warren, who's the gospel band in this?
Oh, well, it's us.
Oh, I thought they're... Because something said about the album version with gospel singers and a cantor.
Oh, yeah,
Is that
gospel
different
singers.
from
Oh,
this?
gospel singers. I'm trying to remember. I think one is named Dana. Don't
But they're
ask
not.
me her
They're not
last
on the.
name.
They're not on the single version.
Yes, they are.
Oh, they are. Okay.
Yeah. They are. Let's see, Dana is on one of the vocalists. Let's see, Jonathan Berryman.
Oh, I know him. He was on the air a few weeks ago.
Oh,
He's great.
well, there
He's
you
in
go.
New Haven. He leads choirs. He's
He's-
assistant principal at.
I found it intimidating to
He is. He
have
knows
him
his stuff,
there, but he was very supportive, very supportive, and I mean, I got the impression that he really liked what he was singing.
He's a great soul.
Yeah. And there was one more name that I cannot recall. I'm very sorry.
No, it's okay.
Um,
And so you talked about what you're trying to accomplish. This song's been around how long? When did you write it? And who wrote it? You wrote it?
No, me and David collaborated.
And how long have you been doing this? Because this has been at your concert for quite a while.
Let's see. I want to say that came around the pike 2016.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it came around the pike then. So Baba was still alive and also very possible. Yes, Stacy was still alive. And we hadn't gotten to record it yet. By the time we were heading into the studio, sometime around mid-March 2020. Mid-March 2020, we were into the studio, and we were waiting for Baba to get on the plane to come on over
Where was it?
We were rehearsing in Hartford, and we were going to record somewhere in West Springfield the next day. And then COVID just sort of struck, and the owner of the studio, the main engineer, called us up and said, "Hey, they're closing down everything here. I'm scared to have you guys come up here and do this. I might have it already. That is COVID. And I'm just not, we're going to cancel everything." So, 3 years went by. Baba passed away of cancer in that time. So we hadn't actually done a version of this recording-wise, or to this extent, to this level, since its inception, back in like 2016 or so. And I even want to think that this song predates the election of
Well, 2016
the
does.
great one. The great one. And so it's been around a minute.
So you've been playing this since 2016. You were preparing to record it in 2020. COVID hit, and it took another 3 years until you recorded it again?
Yes.
When did you record it?
Well, we recorded it back in August
Where?
of this year. Or was it September? Let me think here.
So it was in the fall
I think it was in summer.
of summer.
Actually, yeah.
And where were you? Same recording studio or somewhere else?
We were at Firehouse 12.
Oh, you did this at Firehouse 12, the whole album?
Yep.
Was it a concert night or no?
No.
Oh, so you recorded this at Firehouse 12 in New Haven. All
That's
right.
correct.
So Nick's studio there. That's awesome. Why'd you choose that place?
Well, I think David has developed a relationship with Greg DeCrosta over there. Mm-hmm. And he's done we've done a couple of things down there, including the Days of Awe recordings.
I love those.
And he did his New Haven Capella down there. And, David is, in many ways, he's the puppet master of this project. So he pulled a lot of the elements that he felt accustomed to together, and he knows how to get it done. And Greg knows our sound pretty good. And they have a great studio. They have a great piano, very professional-looking studio with a perfect sound buffering and spacious, good lighting, etc.
So you decided to put out this album, decided to put the song in it that you've been playing for a while. You talk about where you're looking for the blend of musicians before we listen to the song to have the right mix of people to bring big influences. And you talk about the song unity in the community. Does this all fit together into some goal of this project, of the Afro-Semitic experience, of this album, of the song, for who plays the music together? What kind of unity are you looking at? How is music a vehicle for building community and unity?
Woo! It's not a loaded question, because I think the answer is pretty obvious, and we can even talk about the arts in general if you like. But music has a way of melting away boundaries. It can also strengthen boundaries, but really, when push comes to shove, once the beat starts, once the melody begins to waft itself into people's ears, something happens. Something happens that just melts away any resistance, because it hits us in a very deep part of who we are as human beings to hear music. So, I mean, it's almost to say that music is a vehicle to sort of galvanize people. But also on a mental level, if we want to talk about what it is we hope to accomplish with our music, that's almost extra. But it's an integral part to what motivates us to play. And I know that me and David are always talking about and thinking about what it means to bridge our differences. So I'm not going to sit here and say that, okay, the color of my skin doesn't exist, the color of your skin, your background as an individual doesn't exist, or mine. I'm not going to sit here and say that, because the bottom line is that it's part of where we're coming from. And it helps us inform, and whether it is that we choose to ignore or incorporate those things together, it's part of who we are.
You know, that theme really comes through in another song in the album, Our Feet Began to Pray, which I remember we started playing that a few years ago. I go, wow, that's the Heschel quote, the Rabbi Heschel from the March on Washington. But as I learned from looking into your recording, was also John Lewis, who was the student leader who became a congressman, civil rights leader. And they both talked about when they did the March on Washington and they were marching to end segregation, they felt like their feet were praying.
Wow.
Which is, well, that's your song. You sing it.
No,
So,
I'm hearing it. But every time I hear it, I'm always floored by it. And apparently it may even predate that situation and come from an old African proverb.
Oh, okay.
Now, I don't know the origin of the proverb or which country from which it stems, but it's just a beautiful idea. The idea that we can sort of co-opt and reframe what it means to pray, and use various aspects of our creativity to, protract our energy, protract our positivity.
So I'm going to put the song on now so that you need to jump out of the studio to up your parking on your phone. And I know Harry has to do a few station IDs. So we're going to listen to My Feet Began to Pray from the new album on Afro-Semitic Experience and come back for 10 more minutes on Dateline New Haven.
Oh, you do this good, man. You're really good.
It was on the Sabbath day. I stared come what may as I stood on the bridge that day, and my feet began to pray. Oh, we were black, white, yellow, and brown. Our whole world turned upside down. I stood on the bridge that day, and my feet began to pray. Oh, my feet began to pray. My feet began to pray on that warm and sunny day. My feet began to pray. 1,000 voices strong were added to the song. We stood on the bridge that day, and my feet began to pray. We're allies, one and all, answering to the call when we stand on the highway, and our feet began to pray. Oh, my feet began to pray. My feet began to pray on that warm and sunny day. My feet began to pray.
And that's my Feet Began to Pray on the new album by the Afro-Semitic Experience. Warren Bird just told me he was here in the studio, the pianist, the singer on that song, the co-founder of the Afro-Semitic Experience, that it's known as what two people marching in the March on Washington, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel and the civil rights leader John Lewis said. And Warren says that phrase actually comes from the African proverb. So
And then now, I would love to go deeper into that and
tell me.
Find which African proverb it comes from.
Mm-hmm. So, Warren, you grew up in Hartford?
Yes, I did.
And what age did you start getting into music?
Well, I was very young. I started singing in the choir at age 4.
Which church?
Warburton Community Church, which is sort of what they call UCC church, and officially a congregational church. But eventually, I mean, you start talking about all the various threads that influenced that church, because a lot of those people actually came from very fundamentalist backgrounds. And so that imbued much of the way we praised and worshiped.
And then how did you transition to have this be your focus, playing piano and all that?
Oh,
Jazz.
I don't think there was any transition at all. You got to understand, from a big family, I'm the youngest of 16.
Wow.
And there was
16.
That's
Did your
correct.
parents remember all the names?
Yes, they could.
Wow.
What they would
'Cause I couldn't do
often
that.
do is go through a list of names before they got the right one. You know,
Hey, Ethan, Joshua, Warren,
that's exactly.
get over here now. You already missed your chance, Mom. You had me at Ethan. Yeah.
That's right. But yeah, it was actually a jolly experience to grow up in such a large family, and there was a lot of music, all kinds. And I had one brother who basically espoused a serious love of music, and he had a humongous jazz collection as
Older
well.
brother?
Yes.
So you started hearing jazz records.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. From
And
very young.
how old?
Oh, I can't even remember. But it was actually my father who turned me on to big band music.
And what did he do for a living, your dad?
He was factory worker. He worked for Choice Vin, and I guess officially his job description was sheet metal preparer. Mm-hmm. So, but he was actually sort of a factotum. He could do a lot of different stuff very well, including tailoring. He was sort of a cook. He did carpentry. This guy, he was talented and not bad for someone who had to leave school at age 11. We can go deep into the history there and talk about what it meant to be him in Georgia, southwest Georgia, back in, that would be the late 20s, sometime around the big crash. His father had to go and try and find work elsewhere, or wanted to start work elsewhere, namely Baltimore, but didn't come back. Oh, my Lord. So suddenly he was the head of the family.
What age?
Age 11.
Wow.
Yeah, it's tough, but somehow
why I
he
left
got
school.
through it. Yeah, and as a result, he became a man who could do many things well.
And
Nonetheless, the family was full of a lot of music, and it was him who turned me on to people like Count Basie and Duke Ellington, who's, of all the greats, he's really my guy. Yeah, Ellington just encompasses so much about what it means.
Is it fair to say he has some of the widest range among the jazz greats?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you can't have that kind of longevity and not be able to incorporate what's going on.
Almost like a Picasso of the jazz world. I don't know.
Exactly.
So you grew up with that. When did you start playing piano?
I started playing piano at age 10.
Mm-hmm.
Was already noodling before then, but
Who taught you?
Thomasina Neely, our church choir director.
Oh, really? So you saw the talent in you. She saw the
That's
talent.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you play in church?
Eventually, and mostly by ear.
So you never did like this? Did you do the scales? Did you do the chord progressions?
Yeah. There's this whole course during the summer for the kids who lived in the neighborhood and who regularly attended church. We learned little 5-note tunes and.
But at some point, were you learning diatonic scales?
Of
and
course,
things like that. Yeah.
Of course, yeah. And then some of that was just from my own drive for understanding music. But a good deal of it was me focusing on good teaching. So I learned further harmony and theory in high school. I studied under a guy named R. Leslie Childs, a graduate of Hart College of Music.
Was he teaching at the high school, or did you go after school?
High school.
Which school was that?
South Catholic High School in Hartford. Mm-hmm. Parents wanted me to get a good Catholic education in high school.
It's so interesting how Catholic education became the goal of people who weren't Catholic. It had this like brand, they did branding.
Yeah.
And there's like some not positive, some very positive, but people felt like they learned.
It's really interesting that you put it that way. I mean, it
I didn't get the
actually
sense
is
you
a
were ever
kind of-
Catholic, were you?
No, I was not.
But you went to Catholic school.
Yeah, there you go. And I wasn't the only one, as you know.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Long. So actually, I recently got to meet a well-known trumpet player by the name of Charles Tolliver, who explains that he also went to Catholic school, even though he was a Protestant.
You learned how to improvise in Catholic school, which is kind of not the rep of that form of education, right? Memorization and the ruler on the knuckles. But so did you then have a career from the start in jazz? Were you always making your living as a musician?
No. That it was being primarily self-taught. That was the other thing that my background as a youth, trying to strive to do this. I actually was an actor and had done a bunch of shows, including about 9 or 10 musicals, some under well-staffed situations for youth theater, and that was fun. I learned a lot about music in the process of doing that, but I also learned that I didn't want to be an actor because it was too hard, and if you're going to suffer so much, then you might as well just do the thing you really love. So the thing I really loved was music, and I enjoyed composing, and I was learning as a composer, and that's how I taught myself further how to understand jazz and approach jazz music. So I didn't really become full-time professional till I was about in my early 20s. So it took a while.
That's still young. And you were able to get enough gigs, you were able to do recording, and did you build your career as a band leader, as someone playing in other people's bands?
Well, mostly as a sideman, a few things on my own, and it was never really I worked with this one band that was working regularly out of the Hartford area, and sort of well known in the Hartford area. If you're a baby boomer or a little younger, a band called Street Temperature.
I don't remember.
And it's like they were working constantly, and it was good because it was sort of a jazz rock, jazz pop band.
A little bit like Weather Report?
A little Weather Report. They did a version of Birdland, for instance, but more like Steely Dan.
Oh, not that far over. Okay. Like
Tower of Power. A little bit of horn bands too.
Is it fair to say here a little bit of that Tower of Power in that part of Unity community when it goes to the chant? Maybe not. I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay, so Warren, you did your side career. One main career is jazz, and then you got this whole thing Afro-Semitic. You've toured the world. Where are some of the countries you've played piano?
Well, Afro-Semitic experience actually got to make it over to Amsterdam, which is where my wife is from.
Is that how you met?
No, we actually met here in Connecticut.
Okay.
She was contracted to come over here and do a couple of shows.
I love how she plays. It's so out of the box.
Yeah.
It's such a new dimension to your group. Yeah.
And then she's got the belt and everything. Mm-hmm. And that was her claim to fame.
We're talking about Saskia LaRue.
That's correct. She actually has quite a following in the Netherlands. Had a couple of hits over there as well before she was brought over here by someone. And that's where I met her. And eventually we incorporated her into the band sometime around 2007, 2008.
I remember when she started showing up. Yeah.
Right. And then she became a regular once we hit the teens, the 2000 teens. And she actually contributes a number on this album.
Which one?
Brighter Day.
Okay.
Sort of a plaintive but bittersweet song of hope.
Why don't we get a little taste of that one?
Yeah, why not?
Let's see what that one is. Oh, here it is, the second phase. Brighter Day, featuring Saskia LaRue in Afro-Semitic Experience from the new album, Our Feet Began to Pray on Dateline New Haven, WNHH. That's a beautiful number. Brighter Day, the second track on the new album by the Afro-Semitic Experience. Our Feet Began to Pray. Warren Bird, the pianist, co-founder of the group. Now, did she write that song?
Yes, she did.
I love the way where you take it. I hear such communication with you two. And then when you and David then take it apart. I love that piece. It's really beautiful.
Thank you very much.
So Warren Bird, congratulations on keeping this project alive now into its 26 years. So it's in your 27th now.
Woo!
Wow. And congratulations on the new album, Our Feet Began to Pray. Where can people find this recording?
Well, you can find it on our website. That is AFROSEMITICEXP.
Oh, that's it? You stop at the P? Oh.
We do not stop at the P.
Okay, experience.
Right. .net.
Net. All right. Is that the best place to buy it?
Probably.
Okay.
But you can also buy it on the usual places, such as Amazon, Bandcamp, and so forth.
Well, I think it's a great record. I recommend it for everybody.
Oh, you're so kind. Thank you. I enjoy it very much. You know, it's funny. I can be my own worst critic, and I really have to allow some distance between the original production or the time of doing something, and then I need to have some time and allow things to just sort of disappear and then come back to it before I really can appreciate it. But this one, I appreciated the work right away. I really could feel like the depth and the power behind what we were doing. And
I can't think of any more spiritually uplifting music than the Afro-Semitic Experience, our own hometown group, going strong more than a quarter century with the new album, Warren Bird. Thanks for the joy and positive vibes you give us in this world when we need it so bad.
We do, don't we?
We do, but you're doing it, and thank you.
I'm glad you feel that way.
And thanks to Harry Drost for working the controls. We're going to take it out the way we do every single time since 2015 on Dateline New Haven with the Afro-Semitic Experience, performing not the version on the new album, but the originally recorded version of I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free from their group A Plea for Peace. This is Paul Bass inviting you to fly free with us all day, all night, and all week long at WNHH, New Haven's home for community radio.